Hello and welcome to Daytime, your place for scary stories straight from the horror forums of Reddit. Make sure to like and subscribe for more horror tales of things that go bumping the night. On tonight's episode, a man must seek answers for his friend searching for love. So, do you believe in love at first sight? Because I fell in love with the strange woman in the window.
So she just sits there, Thas, and you're just staring at her like a creep?
No. It's not like that. It's like she wants you to look, grinned Reggie. She shows off her legs, her white little panties. She throws her red hair around.
That doesn't make you any less creepy.
She knows I'm there. Hell, last time she smiled at me.
She smiled at you, I scoffed. A human woman actually smiled at you. You, Reggie.
I get a hell of a lot more smiles than you,
He teased.
and I swear, she smiled at me. I'm telling you, I'm in love.
Tinder not working out for you? Super likes not getting you anywhere?
If I had to choose between a random woman smiling at me from a window once every 2 weeks, or getting a match that isn't a bot on the Tinder meat market, I'd choose Window Girl 10 times out of 10.
I'll drink to that. And so we did. 6 shots of tequila and a game of pool later, we said our goodbyes. Then he disappeared. One day, he was just gone. No messages, no logins, no goodbyes, no witnesses, no indication of him going anywhere. There were rumors of him being attacked. There'd been news of an up-and-coming masked gang harassing a neighboring town, but nothing was confirmed. The police did a decent job bringing in the usual suspects, but nothing came of it. They even had search parties looking around the old campgrounds. There was talk of having a diver check the lake, but I don't think they ever did. Of course, they were following all leads, but that one thing Reggie'd rambled about on that last night when I saw him. The pretty girl who'd smiled at him from a window. It was a struggle to find out anything about her. This is a big town. Reggie traveled pretty far from work to home. I must have traveled that same road 100 times, back and forth, looking for whatever window he could have seen her. But he wasn't very specific. There were apartments, houses, rentals, motels, hundreds of windows all along the road. How would I know which one he'd been looking at? I started taking Reggie's road home every day, just to see if I could see what he saw. It was a hassle, but it gave me a pretty good idea about where he'd look, what he'd do. It wasn't a long way out of the city, and I wasn't planning on doing it forever. So I told myself I had to at least try. 6 weeks after his disappearance, I was ready to give up. The police already had. The case had gone cold. There were no more leads to follow. One night, as I followed that same damn road, I stopped at a corner shop to get a Coke. Standing with a cold can in the evening breeze, a thought struck me. Maybe the woman wasn't just someone he happened to see randomly. Maybe it was someone he went out of his way to see. Someone slightly off his usual route. Like someone you might see when you step out to get a Coke. Right across the street from the corner store, just above a bookstore, was a small apartment and had this wide window alcove that overlooked the street. There was someone sitting in the window. She wasn't at all what Reggie had described. She wasn't flaunting her underwear or flipping her hair around. She was this 20-something young woman, cuddled up in the alcove, reading. She had these big, dorky glasses and long brown hair. Not red like Reggie had said. Striking green eyes, just like my first crush had, back in middle school. Still, I couldn't help but to stare. This had to be her. This was the woman Reggie had talked about, and I could see why he'd fallen in love. It was damn near impossible not to. I must have stood there for the better part of 5 minutes. I had every intention to check the address, see who lived there, and try to find out all I could about her. And yet all I did was stand there and gawk as she gently turned the pages. Then, as soon as her head moved in my direction, I looked away and hurried back to my car. It was embarrassing to say the least. I could still see her in the rearview mirror as I got back out on the road. I'd talk to her the next day. Or maybe the day after that, whenever I could work up the courage and maybe find out a bit more about her. I did find out a few things. That corner apartment wasn't a rental, so someone owned it. It hadn't been sold in the past 20 or so years, so whoever owned it had lived there for a while. It was one of the older houses in town, and there were pictures of it from all the way back in the 60s. Even the same bricks, only slightly paled by the sun. The following weekend, I went back during the day. This time, the window was empty. I took the time to just walk around and check the place out, see if I could get a name. I took the time to check out the bookstore under the apartment. It was this old, dusty place that I'd seen for years, but never actually bought anything from. It was run by these two older men, bickering about some nonsense in one of the back rooms. As soon as I entered and that bell rang, I saw their two heads peeking out. "Hey," I called out. You the owners?" They looked at each other, paused, and sighed in unison. One of them, the one without a lengthy beard, approached me.
You looking for something?
He asked, "It's about the apartment. I don't know if you..." They both rolled their eyes. The man in the back shook his head and went back to his computer.
Of course you are.
The beardless old man sighed.
I'm sorry. We can't help you.
"I'd appreciate whatever you know. You've never talked to her?"
I haven't even seen her, sorry. My partner told me he's seen her brother once.
I could hear a jubilant, "I have," from the back room. I got the feeling that they'd had this discussion a few times already.
I'm sorry, they keep to themselves. We don't want to bother them.
"Have they never been down here? Bought anything? I saw her reading."
Might have,
He nodded.
but I wouldn't know. I don't ask every customer where they live. Maybe we ought to start.
He gave me an apologetic shrug and returned to the counter. I thanked them, waved, and left. I asked around the neighborhood. Random people on the street, passers-by who seemed familiar with the area. At one point, I called out to a half-naked woman sunbathing in her yard. I talked to a dozen or so people. No one had anything clear to say about the woman who lived above the bookstore. Some claimed she lived alone, others said she lived with her brother. Some thought it was her father or her husband. But it was clear she wasn't living alone. One man claimed he'd seen an older woman walking around up there, so maybe it was a whole family. Then again, they didn't seem to have a car, and no one had seen them leave. I was getting a funny feeling about the girl living there. It wasn't a large apartment, so I couldn't imagine so many people living there. One or two, sure, but 3, 4? No way. I decided to take matters into my own hands. It took me a lot of stomping around to build up the courage, but I made my way up the stairs to the apartment door. The name on the door just said More. Strange family name. I stood outside her door for a solid minute before I knocked. Had I known she wasn't home, I wouldn't have bothered. I knocked 2 more times, but there was no one to answer. Instead, I just stood there like an idiot. If I'd had any paper, I'd left a note. I did take a mental note of the other 2 apartments on the same floor being empty, though. Strange. I started going by that street regularly, once a day, waiting for her to show up in the window again. Every day, sometimes more than once, I passed that street. I was starting to wonder if I was still doing this to find out what happened to Reggie, or if I was genuinely interested in that woman I'd seen in the window. Maybe it wasn't even the same person. After all, she looked nothing like the woman Reggie had described. It took me 2 weeks of diligent watching to finally see her again. When I did, I nearly got in an accident. I slammed on my brakes, shocking the driver behind me. I parked outside the corner store, and I just stood in the middle of the dark street, gawking at her. It was the same woman, same brown hair, another book it looked like, and she'd cuddled up with a blanket. There was a cup of something warm next to her, fogging up the inside of the window. I could see those emerald eyes all the way down the street. She was magnificent. In a moment of onset stupidity, I waved at her. I couldn't help myself. To my surprise, she turned to me. She put down her book, tilted her head, and met my gaze. She looked bored, frustrated even. There I was, some random man on the street, waving at a young woman in the privacy of her home. I was being an idiot. Then she smiled at me, and I fell in love. This warm, genuine emotion. She was so happy to see me. She was eager to meet me, I could tell. I had to go see her. I ran across the parking lot, crossed the street, and went around the back of the building. But as I put my hand on the door to the apartment complex, I felt a tiny drop of water on the back of my hand. For a moment, it made me stop, just long enough to think. As one drop turned into 100, I snapped out of it. This was too strange. I'm not a bad-looking man, but finding myself running across the street to knock on a stranger's door, that ain't me. I wasn't being myself. Maybe the same thing had happened to Reggie. I wiped the rain from my face and went inside. I hadn't even noticed the strange blue mesh bags used for garbage piled in a corner of the hallway. This time, I felt a bit more observant. But I still walked up those stairs, and I still knocked on that door. Not just to see a pretty face, but to ask questions. This time, she was home. I knocked 3 times, firmly.
Come in.
A soft voice spoke. I just want to ask a few questions, I said. About a friend of mine.
Come in.
The voice repeated. I took a deep breath and felt the handle. It was open. This wasn't right. A lone woman letting a strange man into her apartment at this hour? Sure, this wasn't a big town, but this was just odd. Shouldn't she at least meet me at the door? I could see a shine from the peephole. She was nowhere near the door. She wasn't even looking out. Do you mind coming out for a sec? I asked. It won't take long.
Come in.
I'm sorry to bother you, it's just...
Come in.
My stomach slowly turned as a chill crept up my spine. I let go of the handle and backed away. I'm sorry, can you hear me all right? I think the door...
Come in.
Oh, she heard me. No way she didn't. Was she mocking me? I need to talk to you. I'm not coming in. No response. A shadow suddenly blocked the light from the peephole. Someone was looking out at me, and I hadn't even heard her move. I took a step back, leaning against the wall across from the door. I should leave, I said. I'm not...
Come in.
This time the voice was harsher, insistent. It wasn't an invitation anymore, it was a request. I felt my heart skip a beat, and I just kept backing further and further away from the door. As I reached the stairs, I heard a mechanical sound. A click. A lock. I peeked down the stairs. I could see someone by the exit, a shadow locking the door from the outside. Reggie? I didn't get time to think as I heard a creaking noise. The front door was opening. She was coming out, and whoever had been downstairs disappeared into the night.
Come in.
This time the voice was dark, bubbling, like someone speaking underwater. All I got was a short glimpse. Her gorgeous brown hair, hiding a strange face. Scaly skin that changed tint as I looked at it. Too many eyes. Some blue, some brown, some striking green. The components of the beautiful woman I'd seen, scattered about something wrong. I would have stared at her forever, had I not been instinctively backing away. I lost all balance as I reached the edge of the stairs, and I tumbled backwards. It felt like an instant, like no time passed at all. I was suddenly on the ground floor looking up the stairs. I was bruised, my leg twisted. Behind me I could feel the front door locked.
Come in.
I heard from the top of the stairs.
Come in. Come in.
A face peeked around the corner. It was rearranging, making itself pretty, discarding old teeth to regrow new ones. Little white molars danced their way down the stairs, only to turn to dust. She was changing hair color to black, and her skin to a Mediterranean tan. She was starting to resemble my first girlfriend. I closed my eyes and turned to the front door. I heard clumsy footsteps slowly make their way down the stairs behind me. As I pounded on the door, I screamed for help, forcing myself to my feet. Another footstep.
Come in.
I kept screaming for help, pounding on the thick glass.
Come in.
There was a sudden heat near me, someone warm and inviting, the smell of exotic fruit shampoo, something resembling a hand reaching out to me, brushing against my jacket. Then someone stepped out. One of the old men from the bookstore, the beardless one. Instantly, I heard the footsteps behind me hurry, back up the stairs. The old man unlocked the door as I scrambled out of the complex. My twisted leg couldn't support me, so I fell flat onto the pavement, crawling backwards. Away from the thing I'd seen and smelled, the old man looked confused. Call the police, I stammered. Call them, dude. Oh my God. The old man brought out his phone and dialed the emergency number. He kneeled down next to me, putting his hand on my shoulder.
Are you okay?
He asked.
Did that man do something to you?
What?
The man. That young man by the stairs. Did he hurt you?
I just sat there on the pavement. I barely even moved until the police came. I told them I'd been attacked. I told them there was something wrong with the one living in the Morey apartment. I told them about Reggie, about the girl in the window. I must have just kept babbling on and on and on as they took me back to their squad car. The owner of the bookstore just looked at me apologetically and waved goodbye, giving a short statement to one of the officers. I don't think they did a damn thing to whoever or whatever lives in that apartment. I think they did nothing, found nothing, and just chalked it up to me being hysterical. I'm getting mixed messages depending on the officer I ask about it. One says, no one lives there. Another says, they're out of town. One claimed it was some sort of storage. No one is giving me a straight answer. I think Reggie is still out there. I think something was done to him, but I don't know what. I think he lost himself to whatever lives in that apartment. And sometimes, to this day, I stop by that corner store to see if there's someone in that window. And sometimes, there is.
Hello and welcome to Daytime, your place for scary stories, straight from the horror forums of Reddit. Make sure to like and subscribe for more horror tales of things that go bumping the night. On tonight's episode, a celebration turns into a nightmare when things become all too real. So on the night of this full moon, prepare for your doom, because something went wrong with our escape room.
We wanted to do something special for Lindsay's birthday. She'd turned 30 just as the COVID lockdown came into effect, so we missed a big one. So when the stars finally aligned and our calendars synced up, we decided we were going to get her something special. A girls' night out for the first time in years. Lindsay always had a bit of a dark streak. Her birthday is just 1 week before Halloween, so by then everything is pumpkin flavored and covered in plastic spider webs. Spooky things were just part of her aesthetic, and even as a mother of two, we'd still see her sporting a skull necklace or pentagram earrings every now and then. But we were running out of time. We couldn't decide what to do. Some of us could set aside the whole weekend, others had to work or be home by midnight. It was getting difficult to settle on a single thing that would fit everyone. That is, until Aggie found something that was just perfect. An escape room. We all met up on a Saturday. It was me, Dawn, Aggie, and Lindsay. After a fancy dinner and a long walk, we arrived at the Apostle Collective building. They'd opened about a year ago, and they'd been booked solid all spring long. That we managed to book a room this close to Halloween was nothing short of a miracle. Some of you have probably heard about them. They're sort of a chain. They got like 5 locations, most of them in Minnesota. The place was spot on. It didn't just have the classic Halloween stuff, but smoke machines, hidden speakers, projectors, the whole kit. The staff were dressed up in prosthetics, looking like old-time zombie carnival workers. We stepped in. They checked our booking and gave us a little box of free popcorn. Lindsay was ecstatic. We'd told the staff it was all for her birthday, so they paid a little extra attention to her. She deserved it. As we stepped up to the door, they gave us an introduction.
You're stepping into the box of the godless grinning witch,
We were told.
This is our longest, scariest room yet. Pretty much brand new apart from playtesters. You were lucky to get a booking. The other group canceled last minute. Either way, all you need to solve it can be found in there. Just try not to break any furniture or move something that's been bolted down. None of the clues will require a lot of force, so you wouldn't have to break anything or exert yourself.
Are there actors?
Dawn asked.
You can tell us, right?
I can, but I won't. But whatever happens, you won't be harmed. Something might reach for you, chase you, touch you, but no harm. So please try to keep that in mind.
Are you leaving the door open?
Aggie asked.
Can we leave at any time?
Just knock or send us a text. The door locks automatically, but we can open it remotely with the click of a button. Just knock.
So what's the story? What's our deal?
Interrupted Lindsay.
Ghouls? Ghosts? Vampires?
I was so happy to see Lindsay like that. She could barely stand still. The box of the godless grinning witch is about a cruel witch who have trapped 4 souls in a little box. As they scramble to get out, they start realizing they're not alone. The souls have to find a way out while avoiding the monstrous beings trapped in there with them. There were no more hints, and part of the experience was going into it knowing just 2 things. We had been captured, and we weren't alone. Aggie kept her phone so she could text for hints and reach the staff if necessary. The rest of us put ours away. This was going to be an intense game, with a solve time average of about 4 hours. That said, we were allowed to stay until midnight. And if we solved it without a hint, we got a very special prize. We could also send them a text to pause the game for a bathroom break. We put away our coats, Dawn did a little stretch, and Lindsay was visibly shaking with excitement. This was going to be good. I was the last one to step inside. Just as the door closed behind us, I noticed the staff members suddenly look off to the side. Their brow furrowed as they stepped back. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. Then the door slammed shut. There was something off, but I didn't want to alarm anyone. They were so excited, and the game was just getting started. It was a black, windowless room. Lindsay was being chatty, but Dawn and Aggie were kind of wondering what the hell they'd agreed to. After a few seconds, there was this chilling laugh, followed by a light. They'd installed a video projector in the ceiling. The entire room lit up as we looked up to see a video of an impossibly large woman looking down on us, like we were the size of a Rubik's Cube in her hand. She had these sunken, joyless eyes and a wide grin that stretched ear to ear. Clearly CGI. Far above her, we could see the full moon. As an effect, it was pretty impressive.
I think she's based on a local legend,
Said Aggie.
some kind of pilgrim myth. I've heard about this.
As the grinning witch put her hand over us, the room went dark once again, and electric torches flared up along the walls. The game was on. There were all kinds of items all around. Paintings, carpets, chests, tables with strange runes. Classic escape room stuff. We all split up and started looking through whatever we could first get our hands on. Aggie found some sort of pamphlet and started calling out names. Dawn found a set of numbers under a chair. Lindsay was just soaking up the atmosphere, trying to find clues in the paintings. About 30 minutes in, there was this awful sound. A rattling page, followed by snapping metal. There was a loud moan and approaching footsteps. There were a few spots in the room that were obvious hiding places, so we hurried inside. Lindsay couldn't stop giggling, and even I felt my pulse racing a bit. But nothing happened. The pre-recorded noises came and went. There was this disconnect, like a pair of real footsteps were supposed to sort of take over the sound, but nothing happened. We just hid for a couple of minutes, then stepped out.
Did we miss something?
Dawn asked. There was a pregnant pause as we looked around the room. Nothing. Strange. We made decent progress. We found a set of keys that opened a chest, which revealed a black light disguised as a candle. Using it, we found a set of codes to decipher using a set of runes. We found out there was a touchpad behind a painting, which we could use to write a code. That in turn opened a small side room full of clues. So, yeah, decent progress. Then again, we heard strange noises, rattling chains, loud moans, and thundering footsteps. We figured this was it, that the previous one had just been a warning. So again, we rushed to our hiding spaces. And again, nothing happened. This time, something was clearly broken. There was a recorded voice coming from the ceiling.
I think he likes you.
It whispered.
Like hell he does.
Aggie frowned.
He's not coming out.
Relatable.
Grinned Dawn.
I'm using the bathroom. Text him.
Aggie texted the staff as Dawn pulled on the door. It was still locked.
Wait,
Aggie said.
they haven't responded yet?
Dawn knocked on the door. There was no response. No sound.
Still nothing.
Added Aggie.
No one.
Something turned in my stomach. That sudden pinch of worry that something had gone terribly wrong. As Dawn kept pulling on the door, Lindsay stopped smiling. The pep in her step faded.
Is this part of it?
Lindsay asked.
Is it a meta thing? Are you in on it?
No, I protested. It's just one of those auto-locking doors and they forgot to set it open. Right? It's probably nothing, right?
No response.
Sighed Aggie, holding her phone up.
I'm calling Hank.
As the others gathered around Aggie, I stepped away for a second. Aggie's husband, Hank, wasn't picking up. I put my ear up against the walls and listened, figuring I might be able to hear the staff chit-chatting in the next room over. There were supposed to be actors here, or staff just outside. Something about this wasn't adding up. As I leaned against the wall listening, I heard footsteps again. But this time, they didn't sound pre-recorded. I hurried to the others, holding a finger up to my lips. Listen, I mouthed. There was a slit in the wall where a door could open from the other side. Someone was coming this way.
Is that them?
Dawn asked.
Is that?
Those were big steps. Really big, heavy steps. Without knowing who was coming, we all just silently agreed that this whole thing felt completely off. No one knew what to do.
Hide!
Dawn hissed. There were plenty of things to hide behind, but the room was small. They'd find us in no time. Despite that, Lindsay and I hid in the small side room. We shut the door, held our breaths, and waited. Dawn was small enough to fit in a chest, while Aggie hid behind a curtain in the back of the room. In the low light, it might just work. As the door slid open, I could hear heavy breathing, big, dragging feet, and a weird, wet, snorting noise. A clear scratching sound as something sharp was pulled across the floor.
Please pick the small one first, Byron.
A hoarse voice wheezed.
Go on, pick it.
A pig-like screech echoed through the room in response. This wasn't a recording. This was coming from whoever was in the room. There really was something there. Something big. I heard the sudden sound of tearing fabric and a scream. This awful, drawn-out death scream. A shrieking, pleading terror as someone was physically dragged out of the room. I'd never heard anything like it, and it was impossible to tell who it was. Then, with a thud, it all went silent. The door was closed. Lindsay and I peeked out. The curtain that Aggie had hid behind had been torn down. She was gone. There was blood. We found Dawn curled up in a chest, shivering. She couldn't make eye contact. When we tried to snap her out of it, she just screamed and clawed at us. Her eyes were wild, and she was barely breathing.
Did you see anything?
Lindsay whispered.
Wait, what? What was it?
Dawn just shook her head. I could see there was a crack in the wooden chest. She might have been able to see something. We just weren't getting through to her.
I'm not waiting for that to come back.
Lindsay said.
Help me get the lights.
What? I shivered. The lights. It can't find us in the dark. We went torch by torch and shut it all down. The room went completely dark, and we gathered by Dawn's hiding spot. We crouched next to her, trying to calm down.
It's part of it, right?
Whispered Dawn.
Is Aggie in on it?